But we've always been people that believe that you don't take any chances and you be sure that you've got more than an adequate number of signatures. But this time we've gotten more than the minimum requirement in all 99 counties. Last year, 4 years ago, I think it was 84 counties that we had signatures in. So we're feeling really good about it and very excited about the upcoming campaign.
What's that minimum?
The minimum is, there's so many per county.
3,654.
650?
3,654.
That's the minimum number of signatures.
Correct.
Right, but then there's a minimum number of counties that you have to have, yes, 10 signatures in, and we've got more than that in all 99 counties.
When you two personally collected signatures, do you know which one of you got more?
I think she did.
Oh, no. Team effort. It has been from the beginning, so.
And, we also use the precinct caucuses as an opportunity to get a number of signatures. So the precinct caucus night was a great opportunity, but we also just had a lot of volunteers that, went around to their neighbors and the coffee shops and helped us get signatures. And it's really encouraging to have that kind of grassroots organization in all 99 counties. I've always felt that the way you win elections is you don't take anything for granted and you work hard everywhere. And our goal is obviously to be effective and represent the entire state of Iowa, and having this kind of grassroots organization in all 99 counties is a very encouraging sign.
How long did it take you to get these? Do you remember when you guys started in earnest collecting these signatures?
I think it's sometime in early January. When did we start?
Late last year.
Yeah, I guess late December, but most of this was done in January and February. It took a little while, but it was a labor of love.
In the campaign, what's more important, a signature on a petition or a signature on a check?
Well, they both are important. Having people, and some people are in a better position to give time and work at signatures. Other people have financial resources, but they don't have a lot of time. Some people have both. So if you can do both, we really appreciate that. But if you really have the time and are willing to put in the time and get signatures and help us with the campaign, that's critically important. But it also takes money, and so we appreciate those that write checks as well.
There was a new polling out today that showed you and Jack Hatch are about 38-46, same as you were in July, 46 in your favor. Where do you expect the numbers to go from here? And it's going to get tighter, correct?
The only poll that counts is the one they take on election day. I've been through many of these campaigns, and I've always focused on the election day, and I feel very confident that with the organization we're putting together, with the record we have, and then with the vision that we'll outline in the course of the campaign once the legislative session's over, I feel confident that we will have a very successful election, and our focus will be on that one poll that's taken on election day.
Can you give us a quick update on your trip to DC?
Yeah, it was a very good meeting of the governors. We had great bipartisan cooperation on an issue that I care deeply about. I'm the co-chair of the Governor's Council along with Governor O'Malley, which advises the Pentagon and Homeland Security. We have a major issue now with the Obama administration and with the Department of Defense on the Army budget. They have recommended a substantial reduction in that budget, and that is met with bipartisan resistance from Republican and Democratic governors virtually across the board. I think just our goal is to deliver a letter to the president signed by every governor. They weren't all at the conference, so some that weren't at the conference, we're trying to get their signatures. We're hopeful to do that. I understand there's also a movement in Congress on the appropriate committees. The Armed Services Committee also expressing dismay with the major cuts in the National Guard. Now, the magnitude of this is that since 9/11, we've seen a major increase in the military, especially in the Army. The National Guard numbers have stayed about the same, and yet the Guard has been deployed again and again and been very instrumental in helping us in both Iraq and Afghanistan. And yet now we're seeing the cuts will put the National Guard below what the strength level was on 9/11. We think that is dangerous to our national defense, and we think it hurts us as governors, commander-in-chief of our state National Guard, and being able to protect the homeland when we have disasters and emergencies in our given states. So there's pretty much strong bipartisan support that I brought that issue up with the president at the White House. Vice President Biden came up to me afterwards and said, I will be giving you a call within the next week. He's got a son in the National Guard, and I think he understands how critical this is. And so I'm hopeful that we can get some movement and some change. I'm also very encouraged by the bipartisan support among our congressional delegation for our position in support of the National Guard. I want to give a lot of credit to our Adjutant General, Tim Orr, and he and his colleagues, and they're unanimous. They've already sent a letter to the President objecting to these, and they have offered alternatives that we think make a lot more sense. So I'm supporting the position of the Adjutant Generals and the National Governors Association, and we will be circulating a letter. You may get it. We'll release it to the press probably in the next day or two.
Any talk on the renewable fuel standard?
Yes. Well, I did C-SPAN while I was out there, and if you got a chance to see that, I was able to educate some folks from Vermont and Louisiana that don't have accepted big oil's misinformation, and so I did a lot of educating about how important the renewable fuel standard is and how unfair it is for the big oil to try to regain a total monopoly and eliminate renewable fuels. It's been very important to the environment, to the economy, and to farm income, and we're working very hard. I also had another meeting with Gene McCarthy. I got an indication that we're probably not going to get a decision until early June. I expressed disappointment that we want to see that come sooner rather than later, but we did have a very open and very frank discussion with her and her staff. I was appreciative that she came and met with me, and she knows how strongly we feel. Also, the governor of Minnesota has joined me in a joint op-ed piece. I think was in the Quad City Times, and we're sending it to other papers around the country as well, showing that we have bipartisan support for retaining a robust renewable fuel standard, and we think the EPA is going the wrong direction. I know the Register had quite a story over the weekend about the damage this would do not only to corn-based ethanol, but also to the next generation, which is cellulosic ethanol. We have 2 plants that are nearing completion in our state. They would also be severely hurt by the reduction in the renewable fuel standard.
Governor Perry and Governor Jindal, among others, talked about the chill in the air when you were listening to the president. Did you feel that chill?
Well, I was particularly disappointed in his response to the question that both Governor Nixon and I asked about the National Guard. We think that that was not well received among the governors of either party. On other issues, I think there's differences of opinion, obviously, on some of these issues. Another issue that was brought up that's a very important and contentious issue is the Keystone Pipeline. And that was brought up by Mary Fallin, who's the governor of Oklahoma and chairman of the National Governor Association, and then followed up by Governor Jindal. And the first time the president didn't answer it at all. The second time he said, we'll make a decision in the next 2 months. That's the first time I've heard a definitive answer that we should see a decision on the Keystone Pipeline in the next 2 months. He didn't give any indication which direction it would go.
Any governors ask your opinion about running for president while you're there?
Well, governors didn't ask me about that. I have people in the press that asked me that. And, I said, it's way too early to be focusing on 2016. I'm focusing on my responsibility as governor of Iowa and the important issues we have before this General Assembly, and wanting to be a very supportive and welcoming governor. So I said, they're all welcome to come. Start early, spend a lot of time and money here, and go to all 99 counties. That's my advice to all potential candidates.
What's your working relationship with Chuck Hagel as you work through this National Guard issue?
Well, I sat right across the table from him yesterday, and we had a very open and frank discussion about this issue. He used to be a senator from a neighboring state, We've always had a collegial relationship, but the governors are disappointed with the Pentagon and the lack of collaboration and consultation that's supposed to be with the Governor's Council. Now, Secretary Hagel made it clear he intends to change that. The meeting we had in Milwaukee was not a good meeting, and even David Agnew from the White House would say the same thing, as would Craig Fugate, who represents FEMA. They all said, they weren't happy with it either. The Pentagon didn't send their top people, and they really, it wasn't a good meeting. And the relationship since then hasn't been good. I think they knew going into the meeting yesterday afternoon at 4 o'clock that they had a lot of unhappy governors, and so Secretary Hagel was very apologetic and indicated a willingness to really try to rebuild the relationship and the consultative process. But I think the governors are a little skeptical and say, we'll see. We hope that's true, and we do appreciate what he said, and we want to work with them because we think that the National Guard is an important part of the national defense of this country. If you look at it and you look at the casualties, I think over 40% of the casualties in Iraq and in Afghanistan have been from the National Guard. These men and women are wonderful patriots that serve our country well. They also have other jobs back home here, and we want to make sure that the National Guard is treated fairly in the budgeting process.
Thanks, Governor. Thanks for taking